Hi, I'm Larry Siegel, and today, along with our founder and CEO, Mark Trudeau, in addition to looking at the trends we see based on the usage of broadband networks as a result of our deployed network optimization solutions, we're going to take a deeper dive into the obstacles that are actually causing network issues. As you may know, OpenVault provides a modular solution suite with automated actions to improve network performance. We have an exciting announcement about this suite coming up toward the end of our webinar. Meanwhile, it's important to note that these automated actions include proactive network maintenance, or PNM, profile management application, or PMA, and dynamic congestion management. Our unique view into our client's network enables us to see trends and how those usage trends impact network health. Conversely, we'll also be sharing our observation on how network health impacts usage. For example, the incredible rise in streaming, such as those from sports to meet the demand from subscribers, such as last Friday's Eagles-Packers NFL games in Brazil, Go Birds. Or there are 4 subscription video-on-demand services carrying 1 or more NFL games this year, or the mega sports streaming service proposed, though facing some legal headwinds, Venue, proposed package from ESPN, Fox, and WB Discovery. All of these and more will only place more strain on networks, resulting in congestion and ultimately lower NPS, churn, and impact on your revenue. So the numbers you'll see comes from our second quarter OVBI, which is available for download on our website. These come directly from our suite of solutions that keep broadband networks as healthy as possible, which you'll hear about also in the webinar. As always, if you have any questions, use the Q&A feature of Zoom, and we'll track questions. And if you don't hear a response during this session, we'll certainly get back to you with an answer. So let's start with our key findings based on usage data as a result of our solutions. We'll talk about the monthly average and median usage trends we see, upstream versus downstream data, and a look at power users and their monthly data consumption. So to take us into the numbers, here's Mark Trudeau.
Thanks, Larry. Thanks everybody for joining today. You know, it's hard to believe we've actually been generating these reports now for close to 5 years. Larry touched on this, but today's going to be a little bit different. Whereas over the years, we've talked a lot about how usage behavior, changes to usage, growth in usage impacts network health. With the new suite of solutions that we have available today, we've actually started to look in the other direction a little bit, and that is just how much network health can impact and does impact levels of usage and the customer subscriber experience. So we're gonna flip things a little bit today, but we'll start with some of the key metrics that you're used to seeing from us. Right here on the first screen, you see that average household growth is 9.7%. Versus last year. We've kind of settled into that high single-digit growth rate at this point, and you know, and that really is since the pandemic. Prior to 2020, we saw those growth rates around 30 to 35% routinely. Then we saw the massive spike and change in usage behavior during COVID. Those levels have not returned to previous years. They've continued to grow, albeit at a slightly lower growth rate. You see median usage here growing at about the same rate, roughly as average usage, which tells us it's not just a few power users dragging up the average. It's the entire customer base, subscriber base using more. And that's just a testament to operators that have continued to upgrade their networks to offer speeds that enable applications and streaming and such that consumers eat up, frankly. So continued growth is nothing new, but we are seeing as the other thing to point out here is just a little bit of seasonality, right? If you look at the chart, you see us down a little bit from the first quarter. That is very common seasonality, particularly on the downstream, which we'll talk about in a minute. But we always see a little bit lower usage in the second quarter than we do in the first quarter. So that's a common seasonality observation. Okay, Larry? So we do break down upstream versus downstream as well, and we certainly know that's important for DOCSIS operators in particular, given the capacity constraints on the upstream. I think one thing that we are seeing is a higher growth rate when it comes to upstream. And we don't see that seasonality, frankly, that we do on the downstream that I just talked about. And as you can see here, we're growing at close to 16% year over year on the upstream side, where downstream is actually 9.3%. So you saw the blended rate was 9.7, but upstream is growing faster than downstream. And again, when we look at the first quarter, even upstream was growing over the first quarter, unlike that seasonality that we see on the downstream. So upstream is something we just have to keep an eye on, obviously, and we'll talk more about that here as we go through the deck. Let's shift focus a little bit to power users. We saw last year at this time, a little over 15% of subscribers were consuming over a terabyte of data per month. That number has grown to over 18% now, and it's not going to be long before we're seeing 20 to 25% of subscribers consuming over a terabyte. You do see there the super power user category that we like to call those subscribers consuming over 2 terabytes grew from 2.8% of subscribers to 3.7% in our latest data. And while we don't have the specific numbers to share with you today, it's not a huge amount of subscribers using over 5 terabytes, but you do see that they're growing very rapidly. So those kind of extreme power users, which we all know have a massive impact on your network, that category is growing very, very rapidly. And soon we'll start reporting on specific percentages here as that number continues to grow.
Thank you, Mark. Okay, so that we see that usage is continuing its climb, that upstream is growing at a greater rate than downstream, and that the number of 5+ terabyte users has increased by an astonishing 77%, those extreme users that Mark just talked about. So we're going to get into the impact we see this having on you, but first we have a poll. Get you involved here. So here comes the poll. So taking all this into account, what is your greatest concerns regarding the higher usage numbers among subscribers? Is it discovering where and when network impairments are occurring? Is it identifying the kinds of impairments that are occurring? Is it deploying technicians as efficiently as possible to address those impairments? Or is it finding ways to extend the life of your current DOCSIS network to meet the growing demand? Or basically, are they all number one concerns? So as you can see, finding ways to extend the life of your DOCSIS network is the number one concern, with the other one certainly falling in place as important behind it. So now let's continue and talk about some interesting observations that we found, something a little bit surprising, to me anyway. Back to you, Mark.
Yeah, thanks, Larry. So in the past, we've talked a lot about the strong correlation between speed and usage. And as operators have upgraded their network and are now offering very fast speeds, frankly, speeds that consumers don't even need, we're seeing less of a correlation between speed and usage. And if you look at the chart on the left, if we did see that strong correlation, those dots, which represent observations from some of our customers, that they would be much more closely aligned, and it would look up and to the right, where the faster the speed that you see along the x-axis, the higher the usage. You can see it's very much scattered in this chart. But what we really want to point out, and this is what I was referring to a minute ago, is why are we seeing these differences? So for example, the operator that's highlighted on the left, the average provision speed of all their subscribers is roughly 250 megabits per second. Yet their average usage of those subscribers is actually greater than 700 gigabytes per month. Whereas the customer on the right, the operator on the right, their subscribers, they've done a great job getting subscribers to adopt faster speeds. They've obviously upgraded their network to be able to offer these speeds. And this operator has subscribers averaging over 550, approaching 600 megabits per second in terms of speed. But their average usage this is downstream now, is a little bit below 400 gigabytes per month. So why are we seeing these massive differences in operators that, you would think the faster the speed, we'd see more usage. In fact, that's the opposite in this case. So to do a deeper dive, I'll give you another example on the next slide here. Let's look at operator A and operator B in this case. We have an operator who's offering and whose subscribers have an average speed of 544 megabits per second versus another operator that's slightly higher, but roughly the same, 557 megabits per second. Now let's look at their average download usage and downstream usage. We're seeing operator A using, their subscribers using over 100 gigabytes per month more than operator B. Now, why is that? And this is where we start looking at the impact of network health. In this case, we have a scenario where we're looking at network congestion for these operators as well. And it's interesting when you overlay network congestion, what you're seeing here now is operator A is far less congested. And congestion, we'll talk about in a minute, what things can cause that. But this is just a good example how where operator B, we see 30% of their network routinely congested. And by congested, we look at utilization levels and such and categorize things where we deem those parts of the network to be congested, and those are negative customer impacting scenarios. So this is a good illustration, I think, of how congestion can curtail usage, ultimately resulting in unhappy customers, lower net promoter scores, all of those things. So this is just a quick snapshot of how network health can impact usage. So this is what I meant before. We're kind of turning things around a little bit. So let's keep going, Larry, down this theme.
Will do. So as you just saw, every day we discover and address issues in our customers' networks that keep them from delivering the best possible quality of experience and maintaining their NPS rating. Of the causes we see most, here are the top ones. Network impairments, of which there's a wide assortment, reduced capacity, network congestion, and speed clipping. So we're going to look at each one now and how to solve for them using the kinds of tools that OpenVault provides. Mark?
Yeah, so I'm not going to go through every type of impairment. Obviously, many of you on the phone are network engineers and see this stuff every single day, but many impairments in the network can cause lots of issues. And these impairments need to get fixed, obviously. Our solutions are kind of designed, and we'll get into this a little bit more about, how we can help you identify these impairments, prioritize these impairments, and until they get fixed, kind of work around those impairments and optimize the available bandwidth in your network. And this all is all about extending the life of your network and absolutely maximizing the investment that you've made in the network. So when it comes to network impairments, Larry, let's go to the next slide. Many of you know that we last year acquired a company by the name of NimbleThis and brought really, we believe, the best-in-class, world-class proactive network maintenance solution. We think it's the best in the market. Prioritizes repairs, creating correlation groups and things. We can identify, we can prioritize. There's some new alarming functionality that's being launched right now that I think we're very excited about. It automates network sweeps, basically makes your entire field tech organization much more efficient. And I won't go through all the benefits down at the bottom. You can read those, but huge benefits that PNM bring to our operator customers. So Larry, let's go to the next, because I think we have some data on this. So this data is not something OpenVault. This is not a commercial that we created. This is not an analysis that we did, an ROI analysis. This actually was created by one of our customers that was looking internally to determine what the value of this PNM solution has brought to them and what their return on investment is. And this particular operator looked at truck rolls, phone calls, et cetera. They focus on about 30 nodes a month. And in their estimation, they were the annualized savings from focusing on 30 nodes, leveraging our PNM solution, is roughly $500,000 per 30 node set. And that equates to an annualized value of close to $6 million in savings. They immediately saw massive reductions in phone calls, major reductions in truck rolls as well. So there's a very tangible, real return on investment here that our customers are seeing. And again, this is not something we created. This is something the operator did internally and just shared it with us. So really powerful. So you can start to see the benefits of this type of solution.
And now we're going to talk about capacity constraints and network congestion, what causes it, and what could be done about it.
Yeah, so, for a long time, we've looked at network congestion, the utilization levels, et cetera. We focused a lot on power users and just the impact that super power users can have on certain parts of the network. With our new solution suite here, we're also able to, again, to look at impairments and what that can do to available capacity. And in particular, we'll talk about the DOCSIS 3.1 solution that we have in place here in a minute. And oversubscription, a lot of times operators lose sight of their oversubscription ratios that they might have set out to stick to, but as they've upgraded their network and they're able to offer faster speeds, higher bandwidth, they have a great adoption rate. And sometimes it's, be careful what you ask for, right? If you're getting a lot of subscribers to adopt gig service, for example, in areas that are already congested, that's a problem. You're actually asking customers to pay more for something that they're just not going to receive in terms of bandwidth. So focusing on capacity constraints and congestion is very, very important. So let's talk about the solutions that we have in place that can help you with that. So this particular solution, profile management application, is we're seeing a ton of demand from our DOCSIS 3.1 operators, regardless of where they are on the path to 3.1 in terms of how many of their subscribers have adopted 3.1. They're already seeing the need to keep these 3.1 modems bonded to OFDM, OFDMA channels. And when that doesn't happen, we have to remember that those customers that get knocked off those channels now are impacting DOCSIS 3.0 customers as well. So it's really important that they have a solution in place where when there are impairments in place, that they can work around those impairments. And that's what profile management does. And this was a Cable Labs spec that was created. We've tried to stick very close to their intentions, and we'll talk about that, I think, a little bit more. But the ability to automatically apply optimal profiles, even when there are impairments in place, is proving to be hugely valuable to operators to get the most out of the investment they've made in their 3.1 network and provide really the best service across all subscribers, regardless of whether they're 3.0, 3.1, et cetera. So really valuable. And this solution works well with PNM because PNM is going to identify impairments. It's going to help you prioritize fixing those impairments, where until those get fixed, until your field technicians have their own bandwidth, no pun intended, to go out and fix those issues, PMA can help work around those issues and get you the most out of your network as possible. The next solution that we do want to highlight here is congestion management itself. And this is where, over the years, we've had a lot of experience with this, helping operators flatten the curve, frankly. We all have seen those peak hours and those spikes where usage increases, certainly from 6 to 10 p.m. We see sometimes 1 or 2 subscribers that are chewing up 80% of the available bandwidth on a given node. And that causes issues for everybody else. It's actually the opposite of fair use, which is what we all want to deliver, and fair share. So the ability to take action on abusive subscribers is critically important to provide the best service for the most subscribers possible. And that's what our Congestion Manager solution does. It's what it's been doing for years successfully. So Let's keep rolling, Larry, because I think it is here's a good example of what happens when you do deploy congestion management. And what you see here is particular channels that are exceeding what we deem to be congestion thresholds. And what happens when you deploy our congestion management solution and take action against abusive customers in an automated way. So again, there's no manual intervention here for PMA or congestion manager. So once it's deployed and it's up and running, it automatically takes action against abusive customers, and you see what happens to the number of and the amount of your network then that's congested just reduces, it falls off the table. And that means all those subscribers that were dealing with congestion issues are now getting better service and getting what they're paying for versus struggling to get online and having issues. So really valuable tool set here in automating.
Thanks. And finally, let's talk about speed clipping, what it is and how it impacts the quality of experience for subscribers, and how uncovering who's experienced speed clipping becomes a revenue opportunity for broadband providers.
Yeah, for a long time, we've really looked at how, again, the network can impact subscribers. What we started looking at here more recently is you could have the healthiest network, and why are subscribers still calling into customer care unhappy with their service? And the reality is, we're still going through a major evolution and trying to get subscribers upgraded, and in some cases doing it automatically, but in other cases not, where subscribers that maybe signed up for service a few years ago, they never changed their plan. And what happens is, their usage behavior has changed. We talked about COVID. We talked about how that changed the usage behavior within the household massively. And a lot of times now, subscribers just don't have the bandwidth that they need to use the services the way they would like to use them. And that's where SpeedClip comes in. So the ability to look at how much of their provision speeds they're actually using to determine, are they bumping up against their provision speed level? And if they are, when they call into customer care should have that visibility. Don't roll a truck out there assuming there's something wrong with the network. Leverage our marketing insights platform to be able to say, hey, this subscriber actually just needs more bandwidth. That's the only problem. The network itself is healthy. And again, that's how all these things work together, and having that visibility across the board from that vantage point is really, really important. So this tool is used by a lot of customer care organizations to have that visibility when a customer calls in, to be able to say, let's diagnose what the issue is. Is that part of the network congestion? Is there an impairment there? Or is it simply they need more bandwidth? And that's where speed clipping becomes really, really valuable.
Thank you. And Mark, is there something you want to announce?
So many of you might have seen yesterday, we announced what we call Vantage. You just heard me use that word just a minute ago. From our perspective, it's really important to have a bird's eye view, if you will, of your network, and be able to identify, diagnose issues, understand really what the issue is so that you can prioritize it, fix it, but also have a set of automated solutions that can help work around those issues and account for those issues until they can get resolved. That is what Vantage is about. So we just talked about PNM, PMA, and Congestion Manager in particular. We are excited to announce that those solutions are, we're going to be offering them as part of the Vantage Solutions Suite. And those will be integrated solutions with a single pane of glass, a single interface where you'll be able to access these solutions and see what's going on in your network all in one place. We know a lot of operators are very focused on reducing the number of tools inside their environment because there's just tools all over the place. This particular solution is designed to do just that. With one comprehensive solution, all of these things that I just talked about being fully integrated and having access to it in a vendor agnostic environment. And that's also key, right? So we see a lot of particular infrastructure vendors pitching their own solutions for certain things. Those are point solutions that typically work just with their network elements. We have designed Vantage in all of these solutions to be vendor agnostic. So regardless of your infrastructure, you don't have to worry about, going and deciding you're going to buy a new virtual CMTS over here from one vendor versus another. When you have this solution, it'll work across the board, regardless of your infrastructure. So it really helps you future-proof your network. It gives you the flexibility you need with these powerful solutions, regardless of who you choose as your vendor. So we're very excited about launching Vantage, and you see the solutions that are included here. Again, a ton of positive results we're seeing in all these key areas, the key metrics that operators look at. They're benefiting from these solutions, both individually. You can get these solutions individually. We're not saying you can't, but you also have the option of getting these solutions in an integrated environment. Everything here designed to boost revenues by giving you capacity so you can continue to upsell those subscribers, reducing CapEx and OpEx. Everybody talks about reduce truck rolls and phone calls into customer care, but this is real. The data that we shared with you is coming from operators, and ultimately driving positive profits for the most important part of your business right now, which is broadband. And we will be featuring this product for those of you that will be attending Tech Expo here coming up in 12 days from now, I guess, at booth 604 in Atlanta. So please, if you have interest in seeing these solutions in action, stop by our booth and we'd be happy to give you a demonstration of what these things can do.
Thanks, Mark. And we did get some questions. One of the questions, was regarding the information itself that we're presenting. As a reminder, everything you saw here is available for download in our OVBI report on our website, openvault.com. So don't hesitate to go to the website after the webinar and download your copy. In the meantime, we got, let's see, 1, 2, 3, we got 4 questions. So let's jump right in here. All right, question 1. Previous reports include charts and updates about provision speeds and how it's changing over time. I noticed this wasn't included in this report. What happened?
Well, so again, we try to choose things that are meaningful to report on. And as I mentioned, we're seeing less of a correlation between speed and usage. And frankly, that was one of the reasons we included that data in that chart. It's not that we're not tracking it. We're happy to provide it if you want to reach out to us and we can share that information. But we were tracking, average speed per subscriber as it correlates with usage. And since we saw less correlation, we see more and more operators, again, offering speeds that subscribers can't even use at this point. It seemed to be a little bit less relevant. So we always want to report on things that we think are hot topics at the time. But again, we're happy to share information on that if you want to reach out to us directly.
Question, you talked about enhanced PMA. I thought I understood PMA for my hardware vendor. What do you mean by enhanced PMA?
Enhanced is a funny word. I would say it is actually true PMA is what we're doing. We talked about Cable Labs and their specs, and what their intentions were to be able to deploy customized modulation profile versus flat profiles. So when you look at what hardware vendors are doing, it's almost like when you're a hammer, everything looks like a nail. They take a flat profile approach, which truly does not optimize the available bandwidth, the modulation profiles for all subscribers. It takes kind of an all or nothing, least common denominator approach. So when we say enhanced PMA, it's truly the PMA that Cable Labs intended, where we take our machine learning algorithms and we apply, we run all the observations from the data we're collecting from the networks through that to define customized profiles that guarantees that each subscriber is getting the absolute maximum level of service they can get in light of impairments. And that's really what PMA was designed to do, right? Is to work around those impairments, which we know happen. These are living, breathing plants. And so what PMA does is in our PMA, truly via the customized profile approach, truly optimizes what every modem out there can get, even when the network isn't as healthy as we'd like.
Another question is, you showed a $6 million ROI. How's that calculation done?
Well, actually, there's a lot more underlying data that the operator in question here that created that analysis provided. They provided us very specific data on truck rolls in particular, both before PNM was deployed and after, and the months following. They also showed customer care calls related to the issues at hand, etc. They did an exhaustive analysis. They did it over a 90-day period, so they didn't just focus on one set of 30 nodes. They did this 3 times over 3 months and observed the same benefits in each of those months, and then they supplied what they deemed to be the annualized savings. So it was a pretty thorough analysis. It's something we would have done had we had the truck roll and phone call data. But frankly, we're happy they did it. It's I know a lot of vendors throw a lot of, frankly, garbage out there on ROI studies. So this coming directly from a tier 1 operator was very meaningful to us, and they've given us the ability to share that data in that analysis, which is where the $6 million came from.
Thanks. 2 more questions. This one is regarding seasonality. What are some reasons that you believe we're not seeing seasonality in upstream speeds as we are for downstream speeds?
I think a lot of it has to do with just usage behavior and how it's changing, and nothing changed usage behavior more than COVID did. These types of calls, Zoom calls, et cetera, have become more popular. They're not just business tools anymore, they're personal tools too. And people working from home, that certainly, I think, contributing a lot. These hybrid environments, et cetera. Just the world's changed, right? We all know that, but that is having, I think, a big impact, particularly on the upstream. And again, given the capacity constraints, we talk about PMA and PNM, et cetera. I mean, a lot of our PMA customers are very focused on upstream right now. We have customers focused on both. We have customers on just downstream, but upstream seems to be really taking hold as a big focus area for a lot of operators. So those would be some of the reasons that we think we're seeing that.
Okay. And speaking of PMA, the last question: Does PMA only benefit 3.1 customers?
No, and that's a good question. I think I talked a little bit about that. Is when the resiliency component is very important, and one of the benefits of PMA is keeping these 3.1 modems bonded to the OFDM and OFDMA channels. Otherwise, all that usage, and a lot of those are the real power users on the network, right? If operators are doing it right, they're giving the 3.1 modems to their super power users that otherwise would be having a very negative impact on the rest of the network, impacting 3.0 customers as well. So we did actually look at one of our customers in particular who was experiencing a lot of congestion, and through our PMA application, we noticed that a lot of 3.1 modems had been knocked off the OFDMA channels. So by deploying PMA, we're able to improve their modulation profiles, get them rebonded to the OFDMA channels. Their capacity increased and available bandwidth increased drastically. But the even bigger impact, I think they experienced close to a 40% increase in available capacity with the new modulation profiles being applied. But on the other side of the network, the SE-QoM side of the network, we were seeing only about 10% of headroom remaining on this particular service group. And once we were able to get those 3.1 modems back where they belong, that 10% turned into 50% available capacity. So in that case, we saw basically a 400% increase in the available capacity for the 3.0 customers. So it's really important, I think, to recognize that while PMA was designed as a 3.1 solution, it impacts the entire network in a very, very positive way. So yeah, it's not just beneficial to 3.1, it's 3.0 and customers as well.
Thank you. And that was the last of our questions. And as you can see, folks, OpenVault is not just in the business to publish the OVBI. We're a solutions provider helping broadband operators like you improve your performance. But we do see ourselves as industry stewards. So because we have access to all this usage data through our solutions, we're pleased to provide each quarter's OVBI to you, and we will continue to do so. Don't forget, again, to come on down and get yours. That concludes our thing. A big thank you to our attendees and your excellent questions. The webinar will be posted in its entirety on our OpenVault YouTube channel in a few days. In the meantime, if you're looking to find out how our industry-leading solutions can help you get the most from your DOCSIS network, you can email us at sales@openvault.com, stop by our website, which is also how you can get, again, your copy of the report. Thanks very much, and thank you for attending. Take care.
Thanks all.